All right, traders, a very warm welcome to you all. I'm Devang from the Financial Analyst, and I welcome you to this video in which we talk about the intraday action on the Indian financial markets on Tuesday, which is 6th of July 2021. So I'll tell you how this video will be broken up. In the first part, in the starting, we'll talk about the Indian markets today. What was the intraday action on Monday, which is 5th of July 2021, because it's equally important for us to introspect. Did the plan work? Where did we make mistakes so that we don't repeat it in the future? So I would say that's very, very equally important because what happened today or the mistakes that were made by people will help us build our character and move forward in the markets. In the second part of the video, we'll talk about what is the news flow going on and what's the FII Data institutional activity like, which can help us decide what we can do tomorrow in the Indian markets. And the third part, we'll discuss about the intraday action on Nifty, Bank Nifty. And I also want to cover some major stocks on the Nifty Bank Nifty index. So depending upon how the individual stocks are moving, the index will move accordingly, because the index is nothing but a basket of stocks, and eventually the entire market will move in that direction. So I think that is very, very equally important as well. Yeah, so let's get started. Just one very small request is that very, very small request is it's very difficult for us to come live in the market during market hours. I do come live when some important announcement is required, but being a trader myself, it is difficult sometimes to alert you guys in the market. So we have our Telegram channel. It's completely free of charge. There's no charges, hidden charges involved in this channel. So I would request you to please join this channel. It's fully free. It's called TFA Investments or the Financial Analyst. And this way we can stay in touch, and you can stay in touch with the live commentary that we are doing every single day during the live market hours, so that you can be updated with the view. So, sometimes what happens is 12:30, 1 o'clock, some news flow comes in and I'm unable to update everyone on YouTube. So that channel is a place where I can give you my feedback of how the markets are looking. And let me know before I start, how was the day today in the community? Let me know, hashtag TFA family. Did you have a good day? Did you make some money on Havels? Some stock we were holding for quite some time. We were holding with our stop losses, didn't get triggered, and today finally got a good 4% move on the upside. I personally did well on Havels today, but let me know how many you will made money on that. Also, the buy on dip stance that we gave on Nifty and Bank Nifty last night, how markets were comfortably positioned today. Nifty was on the upper end of the range, didn't fall down and fall down a lot. Bank Nifty outperformed. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but please like, share, subscribe, comment if you had a good day today. That would mean a lot to me. So let's get started with the market outlook. Last night when I did the video, market outlook for Monday around 7:30 p.m., we talked about just one thing. We said that I'll ask you also, please, let's make it a discussion session. Please answer these questions. Pause the video and do that. That will help us to be on the same page. So markets yesterday was closing at 727, and I said one very good thing. We'll expect a gap up. So that is all gone. I said, if you want to short the market, what do you require? Do you guys remember that? I said, if you want to be bear, if you want to short the market, you desperately need some kind of a gap down opening. And if that happens, could be 5-10% chances. And then the markets will in one single shot again continue downwards, and you can make some really good money by being short on the market. So the only way I or anyone else should have logically gone short was if the markets were given gap down. Today morning, the markets had opened gap up. Our plan last night was, if the markets open flat, you can immediately enter on any 5-10 minutes green candle. At the same time, if the markets open gap up, I said don't buy the gap up, but try to buy the dip on the gap up. And if you saw very closely, if I open the 5-minute chart, you can see how markets came back down to 760 levels. It did give you a dip in the opening hours. It opened around 796 or something, came down 30-40 odd points. You should have been able to buy there. Bank Nifty was more clearer. The last night's, the heavy resistance that we had, 34,900, even though Bank Nifty opened above 35,000, it did come back on the intraday first 5 minutes, touched 34,900 and then bounced back. That was the initial plan. Try to, when the markets, always remember, when the markets open gap up, don't immediately buy on the top. Wait for some kind of dip and then buy. The reason is very simple. Any person who's bought calls, so if you remember, forget the world, our community. So we said 720, any closing above 720 will give a good opening on Monday. So imagine 10-20% of the community took calls. So everyone who's taken calls has a great 70-80 point premium profits at the opening. So obviously these guys are going to book money. These guys who bought will book money. That's why the markets come down. And then we had to be a buyer here. So we were not looking at shorting the markets aggressively. a lot of people also asked me, Devang, will we not have that gap up Monday turning into red? I did explain that also in the last video. Please go back and check. I gave this example also. I said, if the markets have to give a gap up turning into red, for that is a very important condition that the entire week has to be closing on a positive note. The entire week has to be strong. And then when the gap up Monday happens, that can turn into red. But in the last week, the week were very sideways, very truncated. That is why the gap up Monday has not turned into red. So just keep these points in mind when you go forward. For example, if this week is very good, then you can expect a gap up Monday the next week to be turning into red. But I hope the entire logic is clear. My job for these videos is so that you can get that fundamental idea of the markets clear in your mind. That's all. And during the live market action, let me show you what was happening. We also discussed about HDFC Bank and Reliance. I think that was very, very important. Last night, I gave you some levels on HDFC Bank. And I said if HDFC Bank is sustaining above these levels, you should be a buyer on the market. And you can see this was the exact circle we have drawn. You can always go back and check. I said if you're sustaining above 1490 kind of levels, you should be a buyer. Because please remember, 10 points on HDFC Bank is 200 points on Bank Nifty. So if HDFC Bank is going up from 1485 to 1505, you will get some kind of 400 point action even on Bank Nifty. And you can exactly see today Bank Nifty was up 400 points. Why? Because HDFC Bank from 1485 has gone to 1505. 10 points, 200 points on Bank Nifty, 20 points on HDFC Bank, 400 points in Bank Nifty. Just keep that logical number in mind. Something that is out there, how it comes, we'll come to that later, but just keep that point. So if HDFC Bank is up 1%, you can't be short in the market. As simple as that. Even yesterday, we talked about Reliance. I said how Reliance has if it opens flattish or if it opens, gap up. I gave this level exactly. I said 2150, 2156, these levels will be open. And you can see exactly how the markets have stopped there. So entirely how we planned regarding the stocks has worked. Also with regards to TCS, TCS today morning was up 1%. That's what I talked about. The pre-earnings euphoria coming in. Eventually, it did fall down quite drastically. And in the end, Infosys came up 1%. That's the all IT action. People expecting good earnings. Someone books profit who's being scared. Some people entering into IT stocks. So all that confusion remains. That's what I said. If Nifty wants to go up, you need some support from IT. And banks today have become very, very strong. Banks and finance in particular. So we are going to maintain a buy on dip stance for the foreseeable future. As I said that, we are planning, if you ask me personally, what's my take on the markets? I'll give you a very simple suggestion. Right now, markets are too choppy. One day they're up, the other day they're down. My advice going forward should be try to have an intraday view. Don't try to go far away in the expiries because premiums are decaying as the VIX is very, very low and you're not making too much money. Even if you take today's example of Nifty was moving in a range for the entire day, except leave the first couple of minutes and the last couple of minutes. The entire day, 4 to 5 hours, Nifty was trading in a range. So no matter what position you were in, forget the counter trend position, your premiums would be decaying. So that is why I'm saying try to be in an intraday position. Don't go away far off in the expiries or in the month end expiry. I personally think this is the time to keep on scalping in the markets, find a couple of points, exit, find another set of points and then exit. That's the advice I can give you right now, until that breakout happens. Whenever the breakout happens, play that breakout. But whenever it doesn't happen, try to keep on scalping within the markets. Going forward, what did we discuss during the live markets? I sent you a lot of the reports, fundamental reports. Please do give them a read because that does have a very big impact. It acts as a very big fundamental catalyst for these stocks. I also talked about the 840 number. I said how 14,840 is going to be a big hurdle for the markets. And today, entirely markets were stopped at 14,840. So things were working out for us. The main important thing is what? Last night, we were focusing on, we will be a buyer on dip. So once, as I said, even last night, I said the biggest problem is that we guys come to the live market and start to think. Our job as a trader, if you want to be consistent in the market, I'll give you one advice. Never ever think in the markets. Have a view. So for example, I'm sitting with you right now. I'm going to give you a view. I'm going to maintain that view until I hit a stop loss. But I'm not going to change my view in the live markets. Just keep that point in mind. So we had that buy on dip stance. It remained. I didn't panic when the markets came down a little bit. I didn't, because right now when I sit with you guys on the screen, I'm objective. I don't have positions running right now. But tomorrow morning, when I have a position running, I do become less objective and I will become biased. So that is what eventually leads us to do a big loss in the market. Havells was one trade I kept on reminding you today. I said Havells is consolidating after a long time. It will be breaking out. This can be finally the Havells day. And eventually we touched 1025 on Havells. And I also mentioned Havells will become very, very strong above 1010. We did get good 15-20 points on the upside. Let me know how you took this trade. And if you had a great day, please like, share, subscribe. Let's reach a good 500 like target. That would really mean a lot to me personally. Thank you so much. And I also sent this message, very, very important, I would say, around 11 o'clock. I said, I'm going to keep away from the long side. So we were personally buyer on dip in the market. But around 11 o'clock, when the markets were reaching the highs, I'll show that to you on the chart also. I said, try to keep out of the long side. And we will enter when? Around 12:31. That was quite accurate. I would put it that way. Around 11 o'clock, markets were trying to test the highs, but they were failing and failing and failing. And eventually after that, again, markets dipped. They dipped quite aggressively. And a lot of people would have taken longs there expecting the markets to break out. But I gave you a very, very simple reason. I hope you remember that. I told you very well, the markets have given a great gap up. So unless until the RSI cools off, you can't be a buyer on dip. Please understand, this is markets. You have to be tactful. Everyone knows my word tactful. I use it all the time. Tactful means you have to be smart. You have to be clever. You can't buy the markets over here. Yes, it's building up, but at the same time, the RSI has got to cool off. It means on the intraday 15-minute chart, you quite overbought. That's exactly what we talked about. Please, I hope in the future, remember this point because that makes a lot of difference. I said that unless until RSI said holding 77 levels, unless until RSI cools off, I will not be entering any longs. That was clearly given, and that is why I was out of the markets. And then the market had fall happened. And then I mentioned, I said that guys, I am not bearish at all. Look for a dip and then keep on buying. And one very important thing I said was any 15,800. If you're above that, you are okay. And then we mentioned later that if you go below 15,800, that is going to make you temporary out of intraday longs. One very important point which I want to make, hopefully it will help you in the further actions. Today, our stop loss on the Nifty, if anyone was long, I said use any dip to buy. So when the RSI dipped, I personally have gone long here. You can see my profit screenshots in my personal Instagram. It's always there for grabs. But when the markets fell down, I put a very simple message. I said, if the market goes below 15,800, it's going to be an intraday SL for long if anyone takes a long. But see, markets never went down. So we use that dip to buy. What if the market went down? That is a time when you accept a loss. Doesn't mean you still thinking, nahi yaar, market will go there. See, if it wants to go there, it will go there. But as of now, as you're sitting right now, if that level was broken, what a good trader has to do is he has to exit his position there. And if the trade again goes back above 15,800, then you can again enter the trade here. Please understand, never ever be in a position when you have only hope to cling on to. So luckily today, we never ever came to 15,800. We never hit a stop loss. Same thing was with Bank Nifty. We never ever went below 35,000. Big fat round number. Earlier, very strong resistance. Now very strong support. And this is exactly what I said. I said, even though Bank Nifty goes up, it will keep stopping at every single level. And you saw that eventually turning out to be true. So things did work as per plan. I hope you're realizing if you made any mistakes, if you went short, what was the mistakes you made. So please note down all the mistakes that you're making so that in the future you don't make these mistakes. Just my humble advice to all of the people. And finally, things were all doing well. And, eventually that was how we ended the day. Now, what to do tomorrow? That was today's intraday action. What to do tomorrow? Let me just talk about very quickly about the FII data. In the cash market, you all have been witnessing FIIs have been selling 1,000 crores plus. Last night when I came on YouTube, I made a very simple point. I said that, you need two things. If you want to break out the upper end of the range, or if you want to break down the lower end of the range, you need two things. You need both the guys to be in one direction. They have to come to a conclusion. It just doesn't happen very fast, but they have to come to a conclusion. Today, last night, FI sold about, I think, 900 odd crores. But today, that figure has come down to 338 crores only. Now, there is a debate that maybe because the American markets are closed, so it's a holiday there. Maybe because of that, we didn't see a lot of institutional activity. But I would, on the face of it, like to take it as a positive, a good signal for the bulls. At the same time, DIIs are continuing to inject the money. They haven't, even though markets are at the all-time highs, they're still injecting money. That's a very good signal that I see on the data that's coming in. FI is pulling out less money. This figure used to be around 1,500 crores earlier. Now it's only at 338 crores. So I think it's a good sign. Hopefully, if this figure remains low, or if the FIs start to buy in the cash market, I would take that as a very big positive for the Indian financial markets, and that can really help the Indian markets break out of the range which has been consolidating for last 1 month now. That is, I think, quite due. At the same time, the FII DI data is something I want to talk about very quickly. You can see what happened today. A lot of all the clients are people like you and me, and the FIIs are the foreign institutions basically headquartered outside India. Anyone headquartered outside India and who is putting money in the country's assets, that is called the FIIs. And you can see what's happening. If you see the FII, index calls from 77,000, they've added to 82,000. So they've gone bullish on the markets. If you look at the index puts, they were holding 1.48 lakh puts, and they've come down to 1.32 lakh puts. So they've reduced the puts. So that means they're becoming bullish in the market for the intraday action. At the same time, something I see very positive is the stock futures. I've been telling you again and again, if you watch my videos religiously, that the stock futures don't lie. This figure has been hovering at minus 48,000. FIs have been short on the market on the stocks, particularly for a very long period of time. And this figure from the last 2 days is now at half. So they've reduced, or they've added some longs in the stock futures. I see that as a very big positive. The only negative thing that I see in the FII data is that they have just reduced index by 1,000. I don't think that's a big thing. You can see they've just gone, booked some profits only on 1,000 contracts. I think that's a very negligible amount in front of what we are seeing in the overall data. So I think the data is positive. People who have gone short is nothing but us. We have been made fools again. We have been distributed short. That's how the markets work. Someone has to be trapped, and generally it is us who get trapped. You can see what the clients have done. The clients, people like you and me, we are, if I look at the index calls, we were short on calls. So if I buy calls, I'm bullish. But if I short calls, I'm bearish or sideways. So you can see clients are increasing their short on calls. So they are becoming bearish. So if they are becoming bearish, the markets will try to trap them, and the FIs are going to make money out of them. At the same time, you see the index puts. They were holding around 232 shorts on the 1,000 shorts on the puts, and now they have reduced the shorts to 180,000. So they're becoming bearish. So if this figure from 2 lakh goes to zero, means they are becoming bearish. They're adding puts. So if the clients, you and me, become bearish, because you can see in the markets right now, everyone wants to go short. So you and me, when they become bearish, the FIIs take advantage. And you can also see how the proprietary traders have taken advantage. Pros are nothing but brokerage accounts trading on their own behalf. So you can see how we guys have bought puts. At the same time, we have been taken benefit. The FIIs and the pros have taken benefit out of that. Also, you can see very well FIIs and the pros, they have bought calls. However, we guys have short calls. So you can see the parity that is coming in. One bad thing is that FIIs have gone bullish on them. The clients have taken some index longs. That is one thing which is not very good. But again, it's a low figure. We might get some intraday dip also. But overall, looking at the data, I think things look fine. I don't have any problem with the data as such. So that is with regard to data. So by looking at the data, I will like to maintain a buy on dip stance only. I'm again saying, if there is some news item, something that happens during the live market, which will, allow me to, please understand, I reserve the right to be wrong. So if I have to change my view during live market, something happens, please make sure you're on Telegram so I can alert you in time. If you are in a position, I can help you get out of it. Just make sure you do that. Let's talk about the intraday action now on Nifty Bank and Nifty. Right? Let's talk about Nifty. Let's start with Nifty right now. See, Nifty has been long consolidating now at the levels of 15,840. I'm talking about 14,000, but that's long gone. But it feels like yesterday when we were at 13,000. So, one good thing is the RSI has cooled off, right? In the last couple of minutes, it's currently at 67. So even if the market gives you a small gap up, it does not necessarily have to be sold into. Last night, it was a different story because already RSI was quite extended. Now the RSI is still, between the normal trading zone. So even if you get a small gap up, it will not be immediately sold into. That is one thing I see from the charts. Number two is you can see a very good build up that is happening right now at the closing price, and this level has been tested time after time, so it has in fact become weak. So I would say any opening, sorry, please, now this is where things become serious. Make sure you understand this very, very carefully. If you enjoy this, please like, share, comment, guys, please. That's a request on my behalf. You can see that if the markets are opening here somewhere in this range, flattish to small gap up, small gap down, it's going to be a comfortable opening. Please understand, as I said even yesterday, you're not going to see any market action on the SGX Nifty, even on the European markets. Nothing is going to happen. So no point looking at the European or the SGX Nifty because America is shut. That's what we talked about even last night. If anyone has taken calls and the markets are opening in this range, flattish, small gap up, small gap down, you should be comfortable. I would say the moment any 5-10 minute candle breaks out, you can be a buyer in the market, and the stop loss could be around 20-30 points, as you always keep on Nifty, but that is going to be a good buying signal, and you can have a target of 14,000, 15,880. That's the level which has been there for quite some time, 870 to 880, and we will then observe what happens at that point of time. Why? Because 15,880 has been a demon level for a very, very long time. 15,960 is this level, 15,900 basically. It's been a very big demon for a long period of time. So tomorrow we will observe what happens there. A couple of things could happen. Looking at the markets, looks like a good opening, flattish opening. If the markets open here and you get a good signal, you can be a buyer in the market. And then around this zone, 15,880, observe price action. If something like happens today, for example, tomorrow, if you are getting some kind of build up here, again, we can be buyer when this breaks. But this is going to be an important zone. If you are holding, let us say 4-5 lots of calls, or if you're holding, futures, I would say book something over here, because this is a very, very stiff level and we need some institutional activity to break that level. That is point to be noted. So please book partially here. And if this breaks, eventually we can become aggressively bullish, because above 15,900 we can get a great momentum that can even drive us to 16,000. So just keep that point in mind. But that is one area where I would like to observe what my price is doing. It is also possible that over here markets make up their mind that they don't want to break out this region. So if we get something like a double top, something like that, we can also take an intraday short on the scalp, on the intraday scalp on the short side. But all these things will be observed in the live market. That is why you have my Telegram. But overall, flattish opening, basically any opening in this region and any 5-10 minute candle positive breaking out, we can be buyers above 14,840 and expect a good 40-50 point momentum on the upside. And after which you will observe price action and see what to do further on. That is one thing. However, if you are bullish or if you have taken puts, when is the market not going to work for you? Very, very simple. If, for example, markets tomorrow for some odd reason, if markets for some odd reason open, let us say below 14,800, 15,800, sorry. If the markets open 30-40 point gap down, that is not going to be a good signal for the bulls. That's also a signal for the bears that they can cling on to their position, and the markets don't want to break that right now. Looking at the chart, it does look like an inverted head and shoulders, but we never know what's happening. Everything does depend upon how the markets open. So if you are in calls and the markets open gap down, my simple advice will be, if then the markets come to the highs, please exit your calls here at cost to cost, small loss, small profit, but then do so. Why? Because if the markets are opening gap down, they will never ever do so if they want to go higher. If the markets want to go higher, they will open on the flattish or upside, but they will not open such a big gap down. Keep that point in mind. And otherwise, if you are in a bearish position and the markets open gap down, and let us say in the first 5-10 minutes, they do try to come up. So maybe then over here, you can try to add some shorts, but your SLs are again very, very small, above 15,840, 5-10 months above that. But again, this entire view, please have a stop loss is all I'm trying to say. Whatever direction you go, make sure you have a stop loss, because you never know what happens in the markets, and you can always be proved wrong. We always remember we're a slave to the market and not the other way. So just keep that point in mind. Talking about Bank Nifty, see, the data is good. Bank Nifty is the one that has seen some great activity. It's closed right at the highs. If I talk about Bank Nifty, we are comfortable on the RSI, nothing to worry about that. But the level on Bank Nifty, which has been concerning me for a very, very long period of time, is the 35, 350 to 400 levels. This 50-point range hasn't been broken for a very, very long, about 20-25 days. It did break intraday, but again failed. This was around 28th of June, but that does not really matter. after the AGM basically of Reliance. But this level has been a demon. So if the markets do open flat, you can see on the intraday front, we have closed right at the high. So if any flattish or small gap of opening, it's going to help the markets come to 35,000, this zone, 350 to 400, a 50-point zone. This is a place where I would like to book some profits. Please understand that this is a place I would like to book some profits, and hopefully we will then observe what happens at that point of time. Just give me 1 second. I think I've got an electricity cut. I'm going to resolve the issue. Give me one second, please. Sorry for that interruption. I did have some electricity cut in my house. That's the perks of living in a small city. So I have successfully connected to my hotspot. Things should be fine now. So all I'm trying to say is tomorrow, if Bank Nifty opens on the flattish gap upside, you can be a buyer on Bank Nifty. And again, we can expect a good 150 point momentum, at least in Bank Nifty. But again, as Nifty, we're observing the 1500 zone. In Bank Nifty also, I would like you to observe this 50-point zone on 35,300, 35,400 levels. And if the markets build up and finally break out of this, I think it's going to give a great momentum. 35,500 will open up for the markets. But again, if you're a bear in the market, you will be in a good position if the markets basically open somewhere below this trend line that you can see on the screen. If that happens, then again, if you're in a call right now, try to use any gap filling to exit your calls over here, because if the markets are opening gap down, there is no business for the markets to go on the upside. But again, that could change live markets. But overall, if market opens gap down, it gives me an indication that I don't want to go on the upside. So I will use any rally to book profits out of my longs. If I'm holding any, applies to you as well. And it's also a decision for bears that you can take some small shots over here with a very small stop loss. So just keep that point in mind. Otherwise, things look comfortable. If I open the top 20, the top 5-10 names in the Nifty, we can always analyze that to understand how the markets are progressing. You can see Axis Bank looking very ICI, sorry, it's looking very comfortable. We have a very stiff resistance. It's been great. ICICI Bank, I've given you these levels on the Telegram channel. Make sure you have the notifications turned on. ICICI Bank has a stiff resistance at 652. So you can basically compare this with the 35,350 levels on Bank Nifty also. So basically, if Bank Nifty levels break, if ICICI level of 652 breaks, it can give you great momentum. But this is a place where ICICI Bank for once will try to stop. And if ICICI Bank tries to stop Nifty, Bank Nifty can consolidate or they can halt as well. So just keep that point in mind. One level that you need to keep in mind for ICICI Bank. Same thing is for Axis Bank. It's been performing very well, and we have it's given a breakout today as well, and we have a great level somewhere around 766, or you can say 770. So that's a zone where Axis Bank will try to stop. I will take it as 766, about 1% away from the current market price. So observe price action over here on Axis Bank. If that breaks out, it can really help Nifty Bank also break out on the higher side. If I talk about HDFC Bank has broken out of the falling trend line finally. It's still, outside, so things are looking fine. The level to watch out for HDFC Bank tomorrow will be somewhere around 1505. The highs that were made today to 1508. I would give a 3-point range, 1505 to 1508. That's a stiff resistance, I would say, for HDFC Bank. If this level breaks on HDFC Bank for some reason tomorrow, it can open up 1512, 1521 levels. That can be very beneficial for the banking stocks or the index in general. For supports, we do have supports at 1490. We have support at 14884, even at 1477. So we do have support. So basically, basic idea is track the big names. Eventually, they are what's going to drive the markets higher. If I look at HDFC, another big name, you can see how it's rose up today, gave a spectacular run today. It's already, you can see, broken out of this falling trend line. So things look fine on HDFC Bank front. I can see a resistance coming in at 2510 kind of levels. So observe price action somewhere over here. If that level breaks out, it's going to be good for your banking stocks, good for the finance sector in general. Just keep that point in mind. Another one could be the IT guys. You can talk about that for a bit as well. The TCS stock did find some selling pressure today, right? And overall, TCS has been now consolidating for quite some time. 3380 levels has been stiff for HDFC Bank, and we are getting a good support at 3300. So we are in that 70-point range. So range market rule is very simple: buy support, sell resistance. So unless until that breaks out, nothing concrete will happen in TCS. So whichever side it breaks, it will dictate price action on your Nifty as well. And finally, Infosys saw very good momentum on the in the closing hours, and you can see it's very close to the lifetime highs again. It is 1590. Observe price action here. So if any of these stocks breaks out, or if they break down, that will dictate price action. Just wanted to give you an idea of how markets are progressing. I haven't talked about the bearish side of the markets, because let us say tomorrow for some odd reason markets try to open lower. What do we see then? I think 14,740, 750. This area over here is a great support. Even the lows of yesterday, today, 14,760 is a great support. So we have a good cushion coming in from 14,750. Let me give you a simple level. 14,750 is a good cushion. Intraday small, I would say, momentum 15,800 is a good cushion. As long as you're above this, should be fine. If you're on a medium kind of term, as long as you're above this level, you should be fine. But if you start today below these levels, something is concerning. Just keep that point in mind as well. And for Bank Nifty, finally, just one last minute, I have a good support at 35,000, also at 35,100. So I would say 100 level is a good support. 35,000 is a good support. If you start to go below that, something is wrong, something doesn't add up. Keep that point in mind. That's all for now, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please comment. Let me know in the comments. Please like, share, subscribe, and let's try to reach the maximum audience. Thank you so much and have a good night.